Good evening and welcome from Interstate PR, live in our home studio office. Uh, it is a beautiful, warm Thursday afternoon here in Sacramento, probably still about 80, 85 degrees outside. And I am fortunate to have a friend on today who is the owner of a business that actually is providing essential services during COVID-19. Eric Keller. So I'm going to bring Eric in. Eric, hi. How are you today?
Hi, Michael. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Great to see you. So, Eric, you're the owner of Three Nails Handyman in
Yes.
West Sacramento, and you provide essential services during this crazy time that we live in. How's that going for you?
Um, Odd. Probably what everybody else is saying with their business. I, I've, I, Fortunately for me in my business, toilets still leak and faucets don't work and back doors get stuck and need to be fixed. So I've been getting a lot of little jobs like that. Last night, I was replacing a garbage disposal for a customer whose garbage disposal wasn't working. So it's been a little odd because I don't interact with my customers like I normally do. But and while the work is slowed down, I'm still working a little bit.
Well, it's good to hear. I know when we were talking about setting this up, you were telling me about some of the jobs that you've been doing and some of the ways that you've been social distancing when
Yeah.
doing those jobs. Could you kind of explain that a little bit and maybe give some tips and ideas for people who need services from a handyman on what might be some of the best things to do for social distancing during this COVID-19 time?
Yeah, and probably one of the things that works well during this COVID-19 crisis works well all the time. And from the customer's perspective, it's it's really best to be prepared for the handyman when he or she comes over. I love it when a customer has a list, like a punch list written down of things to do, even though they've already emailed it to me or texted it to me, um, because it it takes time to explain everything that needs to be done one at a time. And if a customer wants to walk me through everything, that can take a lot of time on the clock. And at some point, the customer's paying for that. So if they can be ready for me when I arrive and have everything listed out for me, and then have the workspace prepared, like say for example, they want me to replace their faucet. If they've removed everything in the cabinet underneath the faucet, that really helps me to do my job. And now, when we're supposed to be distant from each other, they could have that space ready and explain to me what they need before I get there. Just unlock the door, step back, let me in. I can do the job, leave the bill on the counter, and then they can mail me a check or pay me via Venmo. And then we're never really close to each other physically. So just being prepared. I think I took the longest way possible to say that, but just being prepared for me before I get there helps the best.
Well, it's not necessarily the longest way when you're really trying to explain to people. Uh, Sometimes you have to go with that extra detail, right? Um, so I know one of the things we were talking about before we came live was going to home improvement stores and that type of stuff. Is that pulling on your productivity and getting jobs done and making it more difficult for you to actually get more jobs done throughout the day?
Right now, if you go to Home Depot, they make you wait in line to get in if there's too many people in the store. Obviously, that's going to put a damper on my productivity. So I, I need to be there first thing in the morning if I'm going to go to Home Depot. And that's nothing against Home Depot. They're doing what they feel is best. And I just need to accommodate my business to do that. Some other stores, home improvement stores, are postponing returning items. And that can be a bit of a challenge for me because I like to be prepared when I show up to a customer's house. And I will often buy, more often than not, I'll buy more supplies than I need. Then at the end of the day or at the end of the week, I'll return the difference back to the store. That prevents me from driving back and forth to the hardware store while I'm with the customer. So I buy more than what I need. When I'm done with the job, I return the difference. If I can't return the difference, then I need to carry that debt for a while until I'm able to return it. So those two things have had a little bit of an impact on how I run my business.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point that we also talk about as well, about how you run your business, and you run your business maybe in a little different light than other people did. I mean, your background before opening Three Nails Handyman is probably a little bit different than most other guys who are doing handyman services. And we talked about your missions and vision statement of your business, and I'm pulling up your website here, threenailshandyman.com, all spelled out. Maybe you want to just talk about your mission and vision statement a little bit and how that translates into doing business right now.
Okay. Well, generally speaking, a mission is why you exist, and a vision, and these are the definitions that I like to use for clarification. A mission is a very broad statement. It describes why you exist. A vision is a little bit more specific and time bound. It states what you want to accomplish or what you hope to become. So, having said that, I exist, my mission exists to enrich lives through the art of home improvement. Um, and what that means for me is, even though as a business, I need to generate income because this is how I want to pay my bills, help pay my mortgage, and feed myself. Um, it's more than just a money making opportunity for me. I really want to use the skills that I have to help people's lives be a little bit better. I think people are a lot happier when their house is working as it should. And I get really excited when someone says to me, and this has been said more than once, I bought that faucet a year ago and I've been working with this faucet in my kitchen that I just never liked. And I'm so happy to finally have a working faucet. I can finally have the kitchen that I want to work in. And I really enjoy that. So my mission is to just make people's lives better through the art. And sometimes it is an art of doing home improvement. Whereas my vision, and the people online can read that, it's to, and I'm just going to read it too, is to develop a well-respected home improvement business, providing quality craftsmanship, resources, and opportunities to build, repair, and transform homes and lives. And I like those three words, build, repair, and transform, because I think those are the three things that a handyman or a carpenter does. They build, they repair, and they transform. And I'm not just talking about objects or things, but to build up a better home, to transform people's living situations, and just to enhance lives. So that's my vision, is to build a business that's recognized not just for the quality of craftsmanship that I could provide in a job, but the fact that I can develop a relationship with the customer and really take something that is not working and then transform that thing, or repair that thing into something that's working, and to transform that life and that home into a place that a person or a family would really want to live in.
Yeah, and some of the reasons why you're essential right now is because there are so many things that happen in
Yeah.
the normal course of life, right? That
Yeah.
you're talking about having that faucet sitting around for a year, but if the one that they've had for a long time all of a sudden breaks and they don't know how to change that faucet out, or they only figured out how to get the water off, yet alone how to get all that stuff up,
Yeah.
you know, they need somebody like you to come out and help out and put that faucet in. What are some of the, during this whole COVID-19 thing, what are some of the craziest things that you've been asked to do? I know I saw you right at the beginning of this. I think you posted something about installing a couple of bidets and all this other stuff, right? Um,
Yeah, you know what? I have one request to install a bidet for a customer, and I'm really surprised. I've only had one request. Um, my wife and I, maybe we're just ahead of the curve, but about a year and a half ago, I installed a bidet at our house, and my wife and I joke because I've done a lot of home improvement projects at our own house. I've re-landscaped my front yard. I put stonework around my fireplace. I built an entertainment center. I built the furniture, that all the furniture in our master bedroom I've remodeled a little bit some of our bathrooms. That's not to brag about the stuff that I've done. I mean, lots of people do those things, but of all the projects that I've done, we laugh because hands down, no pun intended, hands down, the best home improvement project I've ever done at our house is to install a bidet. And we hear about people shopping for toilet paper and getting nervous about running out of toilet paper. But we still need toilet paper. We're just not too nervous about running low on it.
It must have been one of the cleanest jobs you've ever done as well.
We won't go too deep into it, but I'm really surprised. I've had one request. I've had one request to install a bidet so far.
Really? Huh. It's funny. I would think that you might have more. Crystal and I have joked around several times, as you know, we have 3 young boys, and I'm always like, we should get a bidet because their bathroom would be so much cleaner if we just had one. And it probably smell a lot better too, because it's 3 young boys. You can all just imagine what their bathroom smells like and why they have to clean it like 4 or 5 times a week. But transferring back to what we were talking about here.
Thank you. Yeah.
What are some of those? You've had one bidet request, but what are some of the craziest things that people have come to you with right now that they've thought is essential to have you do?
I haven't had really anything crazy. I think what's been kind of odd is I've had so many plumbing jobs that have been requested. As a handyman, I do a little bit of everything. And so, it's a little bit of electrical, a little bit of plumbing, a little bit of painting, a little bit of drywall work. But lately, it seems like I've had a higher increase of plumbing related jobs. I've had showers that are dripping, shower valves that need to be replaced, a toilet that was leaking, a faucet that was stopped up. Not the faucet, but the sink was stopped up. Another sink was not draining properly. It was leaking at the P-trap. For me, that's been the crazy thing. And maybe it's because people are just home longer and they're starting to notice these things and they realize that it is an essential job. So they call me. But that's been the weird thing for me. It's just the higher preponderance of plumbing jobs that I've been requested to do.
And I'm assuming that these are jobs that are keeping you busy. I know every time that we chat, that you tell me you're booked out well in advance. So if somebody's got an issue that's going on and they need somebody taken care of right away, how do they get a hold of somebody like you and make sure that you've got the time in your schedule to go ahead and help them out?
Well, getting a hold of me is pretty easy. People they can go to my website. They can fill out the online form that goes straight to my email. And the email is on my phone, so I always get emails. Or they can just email me directly at eric@threenailshandyman.com. That's ERIC, and Three Nails Handyman, all one word, no numerals. It's all spelled out. They can also text me or call me at 916-674-2639. I know this is a little nerdy, but I love it. My phone number spells 916-67-HANDY, HANDY. So that's really easy to remember, 916-67-HANDY. In terms of needing my services, before COVID came, I tended to be booked out to maybe 3 weeks at any given time. It usually hovers around 2.5 weeks. For a while, it was a few days, then it was a week. Now I'm starting to creep up on 2 weeks again. But if someone has an emergency, because it's my mission to have a business that it improves and enhances lives, give me a call. And if I have time that day, if I have to drop by at the end of the workday, you've got a toilet that won't flush, you've got a sink that won't drain, or a faucet that won't work, I am more than happy to work a little longer that day to make sure that your home is working the way that it should.
And Eric, you're in West Sacramento. So what's kind of your service area, especially now with COVID-19? How far are you comfortable traveling out to a client's home to help them with what their needs are?
Actually, that's a great question. I appreciate that because it's important to have a specific service area. Otherwise, the further out you drive, um, it's a lot more difficult to get to other jobs if you have to drive really far. My work area is mostly West Sacramento and Davis, parts of Southland Park, Midtown, East Sacramento. Those tend to be the main areas that I work at. And I usually don't go beyond that. Um, if it's at a real emergency and you need me, we can discuss maybe a traveling fee, and that's not to be greedy, but that's just so that I could efficiently run my business. But those are the areas that I tend to serve: Davis, West Sacramento, Southland Park, Midtown, East Sacramento. Those are all within about 15 minutes of where I live.
So, I mean, that's a pretty decent area still. I mean, going
Yeah.
from Davis, the far end of Davis, to Southland Park is a good 30-minute drive without traffic on a normal day.
Yeah, yeah, that's why it's really hard to. I think it's a little bit of a paradox. Sometimes you think, the bigger the work area that you have, the more income you're going to generate. The reality is, in my business, it doesn't work that way. Um, the more customers I can build up in a radius close to my home, the more efficient I can be. A perfect example: I was working a job here in West Sacramento, and a customer called me, also in West Sacramento, and she was in a panic. She opened up her garage door driving home, and her water heater was spewing out water. She didn't know what to do. I told her over the phone exactly what she needed to do to turn off the water, and I was able to be at her house in like 3 to 5 minutes to make sure that the leak was under control before we could move forward. Now, had I been a good half hour away, I would not have been able to do that. So, having a tight radius for me to work in makes me a better handyman to my customers. I do a lot of work in Davis because, as it happens, when I started my business about 3.5 years ago, um, I was willing to go anywhere because I was new. I needed to get my feet wet. I needed to build up a reputation. And so I was willing to go anywhere. And I got a couple of jobs in Davis. People put in a good word for me that led to other jobs in Davis. And I've built up such a customer clientele in Davis. Um, I really enjoy working with them and with that particular community. So I continue to do so.
Those are all great things. And it really makes a lot of sense, especially as a small business owner, right?
Mhm.
To make sure that you have a good area that you focus on and that you service and that you build up that strong clientele, the people who trust you. Um, I alluded to it earlier, and we don't have to get into too much, but your background before you started doing Three Nails Handyman is one that right now I think a lot of people are looking to people in the position that you used to be in. Um, they're looking for, you were a pastor at a church, and they're looking for a lot of spiritual guidance in life right now, right? Not with the unknown and everything. Uh, would you mind talking a little bit about like how you're doing in your own faith at this moment in time, and how kind of that's helping you, A, with your business, and B, just kind of getting through these COVID-19 times?
Oh, sure. Easy answer. Yeah, it's it's a simple question. Uh, I don't think there's an easy answer to that. I think it's really layered. Um, so to start at the beginning of your question there, or and part of it partly a statement. Yeah, I was a pastor of a church. I was actually a pastor of three churches in the Presbyterian denomination. And after 13 years, I just kind of felt it was time to resign and move on. I had always had an interest in doing carpentry and house repair type stuff because as a kid, as a young teenager, I had learned that Jesus himself was a carpenter. And I thought that was pretty cool. We used the term carpenter. He was probably very much a handyman of his day. So for me, making the transition from being the minister of a church, the pastor of a congregation, into being a handyman, for me was kind of a natural thing because I had always enjoyed doing handiwork on the side. Some people of faith, their spiritual time might be meditation, it might be prayer, it might be doing a Bible study. For me, my spiritual time was always going out into the garage and building things. God was a creator, and I think we reflect that part of God when we ourselves create. So that for me was a spiritual thing. So when I resigned from ministry, I had already had this years of background of self-taught of fixing things. I already had a pickup truck. I already had most of the tools that I needed. So it was, for me, it was kind of an easy, natural transition. It helps my business before COVID because I do see my business as a potential ministry because I do see it through my mission and vision and through my faith of making lives better, enhancing lives, building, repairing, transforming. That's what God did through Jesus. He built things, he repairs people, he transforms people. That's why I like those words to describe my business. I built things, I repair things, and hopefully I transform things into something better. And so that makes my business kind of an extension of my faith, which is why I named it Three Nails Handyman. It reflects where I'm coming from and it reflects where I'm going. Now, the next part of your question is, how does my background in ministry help me with the COVID crisis today? I think in terms of my business, it helps me because my business is not solely focused on making money and generating income. Because my business is focused on building, repairing, and transforming things and people, when times get tough, when we have this social and medical crisis taking place, I think back, okay, what is the purpose of my business? And how can I focus on the purpose of my business and carry out my mission and vision despite what's going on? So having those values in my business helps me to carry out my business despite what's going on. In terms of, were you asking also about my personal life with COVID and my faith and how that's helping me deal with everything?
It's funny. I was going to follow up with that and asking you how
Oh,
things are going. I know both you and your wife, and you know me and my wife. In fact, our
yeah.
wives used to work together. And
Yeah.
so how are things going at home during COVID-19? It's a little bit of a stressful time. I know that Crystal and I have a weekly date. It's called the grocery store. It's the most expensive dates that we've been on in years. Uh, but I mean, and you guys don't have kids, and we do, but that doesn't mean that life isn't difficult for you right now. I mean, what's going on with you guys? How are you guys handling this as a couple, and how are you taking your faith and making that part of a way to get through this together?
Yeah, you're right. We don't have kids, and that definitely puts us in a different position than other people. And that's a whole journey unto itself of why we don't have kids. But regardless, where we are now, um, I I had transitioned from being a pastor to running a handyman business about three and a half years ago. So for me, when COVID came, it was, how can I make adjustments to my business and how can I stay focused on the values of my business? Something that I feel is obviously a lot more established now than it was 3 years ago. My wife, on the other hand, has a different story because she got a job offer just about a week before the stay at home request was made. And like anybody who gets a job offer, you put in notice with your current employee, and then you let your your current employer, and then you let your future employer know, I'll be there in 2 to 3 weeks as I, wrap up things at my current place. Jen, that's my wife's name, Jen. Jen put in her notice with her current employer. Then the stay-at-home request came, and there was 4 or 5 days. We didn't know if her future employer was going to follow through with the job offer. That was a little nerve-wracking, but the good news is she did get her job. She did start, and I think the challenge for her is um, she's not exactly doing the job for which she was hired, which is completely understandable because the rules are changing every day. How you address the new rules, how you adjust, how you carry out your business is taking place for her. And the people who have been there for years and are established, they're trying to figure out what's going on. And not only is Jen trying to figure out where the bathrooms are at her new job, she's trying to figure out what her job is supposed to be. So that's been exhausting because when you start a new job, everything's new. You don't know where the bathrooms are. You don't know where the copiers are. You don't know the names of people. And you come home and you're so tired because your brain is working on things that haven't become natural yet. So in addition to doing that, she's still trying to figure out what her job is. So that has been exhausting. That's where we have been with COVID in our professional lives.
Yeah. So and it sounds like you guys can probably really use the time to get out and away, but you're stuck at home. Uh, so when this whole COVID thing's over, what's the first thing that you and Jen plan on doing?
That's really funny because Jen and I are really introverts. A funny story we like to share is when we were living in the Midwest and I was pastor at a church, a couple our age had invited us over to their house for dinner. And Jen and I had already made plans to, like, I don't know, buy a pizza, rent a movie, something along those lines. That's just, we're real homebodies. And so this request from this other family came via email. Would you like to come over this weekend and like this Saturday and have dinner with us? We'd really enjoy it. And we had done things with them before. And my reply was, I really appreciate the invitation, but we already had plans to stay in this weekend. And it sounds a little rude, but my wife laughed when she read my response because it's true. We had plans to stay in. We're real homebodies. We like to stay in. When we go out together, we'll often go hiking. We have a dog, Sadie. We'll bring our dog with us. Our dog loves to hike. We enjoy doing things, but we're not real social butterflies. We are what my wife calls very friendly introverts. We're very introverted, but we're also very friendly. I myself, as a pastor, I could stand in front of 500 people and give a sermon or give a speech and be totally comfortable. Immediately after that, put me in a room with 50 people and ask me to small talk with 15 or 20 of them will exhaust me because I'm just not comfortable with that kind of interaction. I do it. It's just not a primary skill of mine. And so how our lives will change when this is over, probably not a lot. That's not to say that we're not impacted, but our lifestyle is such where we're very introverted, and I think we'll be happy to go out to the parks once they're reopened and just start hiking again.
So you probably really miss going out to the park and hiking, taking the dog out with you and everything like that. I can understand.
Yeah.
I mean, Crystal and I think, are maybe the opposite of that. We like going out. We like hanging out with people. I joke around all the time about how introverted I am. But Chris, it drives me nuts going to the grocery store right now, and people are standing like 6 feet away from you, and I'm like, but I could have a conversation with that person right there about something that's not meaningful.
Yeah, I'm cool.
But you know what? It's better than just standing in line and twiddling my thumbs.
Yeah. Have you seen the Facebook post where someone says, as soon as this is lifted, I'm going to go hug everybody that I know?
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, those posts make me nervous. Now,
Yes.
having said that, I will say one thing that I really do miss is at the end of a job when the customer has looked at my work and they've paid the bill right before I leave. Honestly, I really miss shaking their hand
Yeah.
before I leave. There's something about that for me. There's something about the handshake that just kind of puts the bow on the package of being done. It just kind of solidifies that both the customer and I are happy. They've inspected the work, they paid me, they shake my hand, I move on. And so not being able to shake hands with somebody when I'm done with the job, I really do miss that. And I think probably if all the things that I'm looking forward to regarding my business, I'm probably looking forward to that the most.
Yeah, and that'll be interesting to see because a lot of experts are saying there's going to be quite some time before people are shaking hands again, and it's
Yeah.
one of those things that uh, I mean everybody's grown up with over the years. Like when you're being promoted from eighth grade to high school, they teach you make sure you know how to shake a hand so that you grab
Yeah.
your certificate and you shake the hand, right? I remember my parents taught me well before that how to do that. But I just remember thinking that and thinking of all these eighth graders who aren't going to get that training, which maybe is meaningless. But it's kind of a weird thing because yeah, I get what you're saying as well.
Mhm.
My love language is physical touch, but I'm not a big hugger.
Yeah.
These are people that I don't know, but I really well. But I am like I like to shake people's hands. Like that's kind of
Mhm.
my acknowledgement, and it's very interesting because you're kind of waving to people from a distance now, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so it's a little strange. It definitely is a little strange. Um,
It isn't personal. My customer last night, she's the one that needed a garbage disposal installed, and we made arrangements that when I got there, I would just text her. She would unlock the door. Um, Kitchen was visible from the front door, so she unlocked the door, said hello from a distance. She went into the backyard. I did the work in the kitchen and changed out the garbage disposal for her. Left the bill on the counter, and then left. And even though I say I'm an introvert, just not being able to interact with the customer um, just feels a little lonely. I mean, that's one of the things that can be pastoral about my business is the fact that I can have a conversation with somebody while I'm working with them, and I've had great conversations because they have found out of my background in ministry. So it's a little odd for because I don't think we're created to be so distant from each other at all the time. I do think it just really impacts us on a personal way.
I agree. I think right now, I'm telling a lot of people this right now. I mean, not I haven't said it very much on these, but my favorite verse in the entire Bible is Second Corinthians 5 through 7, which is we walk by faith, not by sight,
Mhm.
right? Uh, and I've always lived my life that way. When I took my job where I met Crystal, I moved to Lodi, California from San Jose, California. I'd never been to Lodi in my life. I'd never even heard of Lodi. That's not true. Actually, I knew somebody from college who lived in Lodi. But I mean, I'd never been to Lodi. I'd never heard of it. But I moved there and I met my wife. And then Crystal got accepted to San Diego State to finish her degree. And we took the leap of faith and moved, and we lived in
Yeah.
Carlsbad for 6 years.
Wow.
And we had our first son there. And then we moved back here, to take a contract. And 6 months later, my mom got sick and passed away. So, I
Mhm.
mean, we walk by faith, not by sight.
Yeah.
And, I was talking with the superintendent of the Catholic Schools District yesterday, and he was telling me that he was fortunate to be at a meeting with other superintendents from Catholic school districts in California 3 weeks before this whole shelter in place. And they brought it up. They saw kind of some of the writing on the wall and brought it up and talked about it. And they spent the next week and a half putting something together. And he said,
Mhm.
I was fortunate. I was lucky to be there. And then he said, the week before this whole thing, I was fortunate enough to be in at an academic decathlon event with all the principals for all the
Mm.
schools in the diocese.
Yeah.
And I said to him, his name is Lincoln. I said, Lincoln, that's not luck. I mean, that's God at work right there.
Yeah.
Right? And I think we can see that in everything in our life. And I'm helping our church out producing live streaming masses, which is kind of odd for Catholics to see mass live stream on online
Mhm.
and on TV. It's usually relegated for those people who watch EWTN who are not well enough to go to mass, and then somebody comes and
Yeah.
actually gives communion at their house for them.
Mhm.
And now we're all kind of in that situation, and I think it's helping. What I see is we get a ton of people streaming in. We're getting 250 people or so watching the streams. And Our Lady of Grace Church in West Sacramento only holds about 250 people. I really see this, and maybe I don't know how you're seeing this or how you feel about this, but I see this really maybe helping people renew their faith.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife and I, and admittedly more my wife than me lately, we've been attending Bayside Midtown. And Bayside Midtown, I I like their philosophy on doing ministry. They're very focused on reaching people who have either been hurt by the church in their past, or they don't have really any church experience at all. And they're very focused on that. They know who they want to reach. And during this stay at home, this shelter in place time in this COVID crisis, because they know what they're focused on, they're finding new ways of doing that. And they had a really nice Easter service on Sunday morning. It wasn't over the top, it wasn't really glamorous with a lot of technology. Um, it was a really well done service online, and they really focused on continuing to reach out to people. And my understanding is their online presence has been a lot bigger than their in place, on campus presence before the COVID-19 and shelter in place hit. And I think it goes back to whether you're a religious organization, a nonprofit, or a for business. If you have a good understanding of your mission and vision, you're able to continue to grow your business based on those things, despite what the world is throwing at you. So I think for them, they've handled it really well.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of churches and a lot of different denominations that are really doing a great job
Mhm.
getting the message out, adopting to technologies that may not be a comfort level within their normal practice of their faith. And I think it's I get there are some things behind it. For me, it's a little weird watching mass from the comfort of my television, wearing or my couch on the television, wearing slippers and pajamas. But uh,
Yeah.
I'm still getting the message, and I'm still getting the things I need spiritually and that type of stuff. And
Well,
I
you
think
don't have to wear your slippers and pajamas,
well,
Michael. You
I
can
have
you
three
can
kids,
wear you can wear a suit and sit on your couch and watch it.
I have three kids. I'm trying to get up in the morning, so I can't get dressed that quickly. And honestly, I've been producing that, so I'm watching it from my computer
Yeah.
while they're watching it on the TV. So I'm up with like my hair somewhat combed and my teeth brushed and somewhat ready to go, just in case I need to talk to somebody before mass, because otherwise I'm hidden in the background. But
Yeah. Not having hair saves a lot of time getting ready, by the way.
yeah, I see you get the Bic going, right? Some people get the black market haircuts, yeah, and other people have the big market haircuts. um, yeah, I think you made a great point. Is that it doesn't matter what type of business it is right now, as long as you're prepared and ready to go. And I think it all really translates down to this, at least for me. It's about the locality and local businesses. Using somebody like Three Nails Handyman is a lot better than looking up the yellow pages. I mean, nobody uses the yellow pages anymore, but going on
Yeah.
Google and Googling handyman and finding the person at the top, the company at the top's paid thousands of dollars to be in that ad, who
Mhm.
clearly have the money to spend to advertise to be there. It's the little guys like you who really help drive our local economy, because you're not only supporting those big box places that also put money into our local economy, but it's the
Yeah.
small places too that somebody that they're going to give you a deal, or they've got what you need to
Yeah.
get things done. And I really appreciate your time today, Eric. I
Thank
want
you.
to let people know that they can reach out to you at threenailshandyman.com. There's a little splash on the bottom of the screen, and you can
Oh,
actually
thank
click
you.
that into the messages. And Eric, I know we wouldn't be too long, although we've known each other for about 3.5 years. I think you were just starting Three Nails Handyman the first time we met
Yeah.
and had
Yeah.
coffee, and we always seem to have a great and long conversation. But as wrapping up, I know it's probably Jen's probably waiting for you for dinner. I'm making pulled pork, and I can smell it permeating through the house and getting hungry. Uh,
I'm in the garage, as you could tell.
yeah. um, what's one piece of advice that you would give people? And we'll ask on three different levels: on a faith level, on a needing a handyman level, and just on a personal level during COVID-19. Three quick pieces of advice that you have on that.
Okay. First one was faith level.
Faith level, yeah.
Faith level. um, it, I think the simplest answer is that God is bigger. Um, God's still in charge. That doesn't mean I understand why. Um, God allows things, and that's a whole other conversation. As you know, does God make it happen? Does God allow it to happen? Does God not care if it happens? Those are answers that can go on for on and on and on and on. But I think for people of faith, I think if you believe that God is bigger, then I think people of faith are going to use this crisis to demonstrate that in their actions. Prove through your actions that God is bigger, and let people know and the world know that God is bigger, and that nothing can stop us from doing good. And there's no better time than to do good and to help out one another than through a crisis. Um, Second was faith was business.
Business.
Business. I think it comes down to your mission and vision. I know I've repeated that a lot, but I'm a big believer in that. People who are of faith probably know about Rick Warren. He's the pastor of Saddleback Church in Southern California, an incredibly successful ministry. Started it from scratch. He wrote a book called we've probably heard of The Purpose Driven Life, the book that he read, or excuse me, the book that he wrote. But he also wrote a book before that called The Purpose Driven Church. And in The Purpose Driven Church, he said that nothing precedes purpose. If you don't know the purpose of what your business or organization is, stop everything and figure out your purpose and then move forward. Nothing precedes that. So, in your business life, what is your purpose? If you know and can articulate in a sentence or two at the most what the purpose of your business is, then focus on your purpose. And that will not only keep your business open during times of crisis, it may actually help you grow your business because you are building on your purpose. Third, so that's faith, that's business. Third, you're asking for personal.
Yeah. One personal tip that you would give people.
Oh, one personal tip to
Pass
give.
getting a bidet. Pass getting a bidet. That can't be.
Yeah, yeah. Personal tip: hire me to install a bidet, and uh, and you will be very grateful for it.
And it will be a clean job. Uh,
It'll be a clean job, and the only thing you'll use 4 squares a day, for each person. and those 4 squares will just be to dry and verify. That's it. That was a poop joke. I am ending our conversation with a poop joke.
Well, I appreciate that, Eric. Uh, I really do.
A lot of people just literally just turned off their computers and threw them away, and I just lost probably a third of the people that were going to call me.
Well,
Sorry.
it is what it is, right? You can always watch it back on the replay to see how it went over, how it floated. That's right. I followed up with a bad joke too. I'm trying to help.
I know.
Yeah, Eric, I really appreciate you coming on, taking the time. I know that we've been talking and we've been trying to touch base for a little bit here, and you've been busy. You're doing a great job, a great thing for people out there. Really, really appreciate that. I can speak for Crystal and I when I say that we really appreciate the friendship that we have with you and Jen. And I know you guys are introverted, but we're looking forward to getting back together with you guys after all this whole COVID-19 thing is over. It was like about a year ago that we went out and had dinner and drinks, right? So
I think it's been a while. It's been a while, and I know Jen really values her relationship with your wife, Crystal. That was a hard thing for Jen to leave one company and go to another because of the relationships, including your wife, that she had created and while she was there. And it's nice to know that those two stay in touch with each other, even though they're now working for different companies. Because, sometimes we have these transit relationships, right? You have a relationship with somebody while you work with them. And then when they quit or you quit, it's kind of the end of the relationship. But that hasn't been their case. Their relationship has developed beyond the business. And so that's nice to know.
No, it's really a great thing. And it's a great testament to people too, that you don't have to just be friends with somebody as a colleague at work. You can develop that relationship past then. And I think they did a great job while working together of separating the personal relationship from the business relationship as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Well, Eric, I really appreciate the time. I know you're busy. I'm sure that once some of the stuff gets lifted and everything, you're going to be even busier. And if things slow down at all, you get that beautiful workshop there. You can start sewing masks and selling masks.
Maybe
put the Three Nails Handyman logo on it, and you'll be so. But seriously, thank you. I really appreciate the time, and we'll get together soon once this is all over.
Yeah, thanks. And I like what you're doing of sharing resources because people are able to share ideas, and what you're doing is I think helping business owners. I think it's helping and it's kind of helping customers in a kind of a way by sharing resources. And so you're using your values and your resources now to help others. And I appreciate that too.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. Well, on that beautiful positive note, it's a beautiful evening here in Sacramento. So I know we're supposed to stay in, but a lot of people have yards, or you can go for a walk down the block with the ones that you love. Go outside and make sure you're still enjoying. We're blessed to be in such a beautiful area. It gets hotter here than some areas of California, but we really are blessed. A lot of people do say that California is God's country because of how beautiful it is here. So get outside, enjoy yourself, and enjoy your loved ones. And I'll be back on tomorrow morning with a friend of mine, actually, who is actually my youngest son's godfather, who lives on his own sail yacht in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
And he was out sailing when all this stuff happened. And he's going to talk about how difficult it was to get back into port and all the stuff that he had to go through to get to get to his way.
I can only imagine. Yeah.
I mean, it's a crazy story. I talked to him not too long ago, and he was telling me the crazy story it was. So I'll be back on with him tomorrow morning. Eric, it was great talking to you. We'll talk soon. Everybody who's watching, have a great night. And if you're watching on the replay, I hope your day is just as beautiful as it is today.
Thanks a lot, Michael.
Thank you, Eric. Take care. You too.
Bye-bye.